We go into a state of meditation, embodying your body. Your consciousness, and the one which is conscious, which is your me. Before I address the subject of conscious sleep, let me elaborate a bit more, because I wrote about this in the last article, about the concept of Turiya. Turiya means the fourth, as the fourth state, other than waking, dreaming, and deep sleep. A state which is normally not experienced, because people live just in those three states. It has to be awakened or realized. It is a lovely concept from Indian mysticism. It is lovely because of its simplicity. But that simplicity is also elusive, because it can be interpreted in a simplistic way. That is the pitfall of simplicity, that it is prone to many kinds of interpretations. Turiya is a state that is present at all times when realized, Often it is associated with consciousness being present in sleep, but it is also present in the waking state. It is not just a fourth state, it is a state which includes all the other states. That's why it is also called Turiya, which means beyond the fourth. It's not just a fourth state. It is an all-inclusive state, and a state which is underlying all the other states. That state is actually rarely realized, very rare. There are many interpretations of what constitutes that state of Turiya, such as you can find commentaries that it is the same as awareness. So a man awakens state of awareness. It is supposed to be the same as Turiya, but it is not. So this is the problem with simplifications. State of awareness, or even in our case, properly realized consciousness as me, is not Turiya, it is just a higher waking state. It is an awakened waking state. And that state of awareness or consciousness cannot stay present in sleep, meaning it is limited to our waking time. There are many practices that are aiming at bringing certain awareness in sleep, but what they refer to is not Turiya, but more of a lucid dreaming, where the personal me somehow, to different degrees, can stay present within all those dreams. But Turiya is not a state of personal me. It is a state of the universal me. Personal me is not supposed to stay alert in sleep. It's supposed to sleep. The state of Turiya is underlying all the other states, but a deeper understanding of it comes from clarifying how it is experienced in sleep. Because in the waking state, consciousness exists on several levels, and it can be confusing to really verify, is it Turiya or is it not Turiya? But when you know what is that state in sleep, then you will also know what it is in waking state. Who is aware? Who is conscious in sleep? If one is conscious. The usual interpretation of Turiya is that it is equivalent of self, it is the self, the Hindu self, which is eternal and beyond time and space. But the question is, how is it that one person can experience it and another cannot? If Turiya is indeed that omnipresent self, how is it that it is not present in most people consciousness? There's a contradiction in terms, because if that state or that self is omnipresent, there should not be ignorance, there should not be forgetfulness. It's impossible that we are disconnected from that awareness of self. But we are. People are. So how that self is omnipresent? That which is conscious in sleep, when it is conscious, is the primordial I am. I have recently decided to change terminology and to call it just I am, and soon we send an article explaining those changes. So that I am is present, that I am is the source of existence, it is the state of spiritual and physical singularity prior to creation. It is the center of everything. Imagine that the center of any universe, anything that you can imagine, conceive of as creation, that is I am. It's always there. And it holds creation in place. And creation is its manifestation. But that manifestation is to large degree unconscious, subconscious. That manifestation is evolving. Is evolving to the evolution of life, to the evolution of our consciousness, is evolving through you and through me. That which is evolving in you, the primordial I am, via his manifestation. He is entering that manifestation, this world, through you, through your sense of me. Primordial I am, or I am, exists in a state prior to consciousness. It's not conscious. It's present but not aware of itself. It is something that may be difficult to grasp because it contradicts all the deeply rooted ideas that self is always conscious. Well, depending how you define self, but I am is not conscious. But it becomes conscious through me. And there are levels to which it becomes conscious. It becomes conscious, for instance, through you becoming conscious when you awaken your me, which is a very, very important realization. It means that I am is experiencing itself as that me. But I am is still not conscious of itself as I am. It's a paradox of sorts. It is conscious through, becomes conscious through creation. Initially, at the beginning, it was not even conscious of creation, because consciousness was not creation has not evolved enough to give rise to consciousness. But now it is. Not so impressively conscious, obviously, but it is conscious. In order for I am to become conscious of itself, not only me has to be awakened, but me has to surrender to I am. So turning, radical turning of energy of consciousness towards its source of singularity. And it is done through surrender to me, which means me is surrendering to itself. Me is a portal to I am. First me is just lost in the scenery of the outer world. Then gradually it comes to recognize itself as me, but then it has to go deeper, has to surrender to itself. The principles of the surrender I will guide you deeper in the coming retreats. We already did a little bit work with that surrender, but it is very subtle, very deep, and requires a great deal of maturity. When me surrenders to me, to itself, it passes through the portal into I am, and it becomes I am. Rather, it does not become I am, it becomes one with I am, and in that unity I am becomes conscious. And this we call universal me, when I am becomes conscious. And this what happens in sleep. What you experience, or what one can experience, is that I am is conscious. But what happens to me which has surrendered? Is it just I am being conscious? I am is conscious as me. That me which has surrendered has become unified with I am as the universal me. So the universal me is conscious in sleep. And the same universal me is conscious in the waking state. Being conscious in sleep in such a way is not a matter of some kind of a training of consciousness. It is a matter of surrender. Because it is not you who is conscious. So what can you do? Try to concentrate in your presence so that presence can continue in your sleep. That will not work and would be strenuous. It's not your me which is present, it is the universal me. Universal me is your me, but it is not your personal me. So universal me is present. You could say as well that I am is present. It is just that we call I am conscious of itself the universal me. So Turiya needs to be awakened through surrender. To say that it was always there is not entirely true. It was always there from the perspective of evolution of primordial I am, or I am. But that always is always only in the perspective of seeing creation as having no beginning. Because it has no beginning from one perspective, but from another perspective a parallel perspective which is equally valid, it has beginning. And from that perspective of creation having the beginning, Turiya was not always present. It needs to be realized through me. When we say realize, it's not just recognizing something out there that was independent from us and always existed, but to actually activate it. Turiya needs to be activated through surrender to I am, through surrender to me. Many spiritual teachings had hard time to explain the presence of ignorance. such as in Buddhism, they were saying that ignorance has no beginning but has an end. Some see ignorance as a curse, some see ignorance as a mistake. But ignorance serves a purpose. Forgetfulness serves a purpose. To create that duality between I am and creation, through which I am can recognize itself. Without ignorance there will be no such recognition, and I am would be always unconscious. I am would not be Turiya. Its state would resemble more a deep sleep without dreams. Thanks to ignorance, there's awakening. Thanks to awakening, I am can become conscious of itself. Through you, through your awakening, and through your surrender. That's why you are important. You are the child of I am, his precious manifestation that is supposed to return to him and to illuminate him with consciousness. But remember that you is I am, experiencing itself in creation. Don't think of yourself as nobody, a little person in that, false humility, which is actually not humility, it's rather a complex of inferiority, false humbleness. You are not nobody, you are I am, living in the human body. And the first step towards realization of that fact is to awaken your me, your personal me. In sleep, as in Turiya, personal me does not dissolve, but it is being transformed into the universal me. if it's not transformed, it means it has not surrendered enough. So it is you who is present in sleep, as you are present in the waking state, but the deeper you, the higher you, the higher me, or the true me. True, not in the sense that your personal me is false. So maybe true is not the right term, because the higher me. Universal me is me, but at the same time it is very different than personal me, to such an extent that it does not feel like yourself. Meaning, from the perspective of your previous feeling of me, it does not feel like you, but it is you. There's this change in identity, shift in identity into something that you have never been, something which is beyond this planet, all the people in human consciousness, collective consciousness. This is what happens when me returns to I am. That enormous change in the quality of your experience of yourself. I mentioned that Turiya is a rare attainment and very high attainment. So you may wonder whether the practice of conscious sleep bears any significance for you. If you still do not have access to the universal me. Yes, it does, because your evolution also happens in your sleep, whether it is unconscious or more connected to consciousness. So in your sleep, the practice of falling asleep, what I used to call the art of falling asleep, is that you try to remain conscious as much as you can, but without concentrating too much, because you will never fall asleep. And then what you need to do is exactly what you are supposed to do in the waking state. Surrender to me. So you practice surrender to me in that intermediate state between being awake and falling asleep. And the seeds of this practice the benefits of this practice will be experienced next day in your waking state. Additionally, there will be a deepening in the quality of your sleep, because some consciousness will begin to enter your sleep. Not like you are conscious, but consciousness as a certain knowledge, certain recognition of itself will begin to seep into your sleep state. In the past, we have been falling asleep through the person. Now you are falling asleep through me. Speaking of which, that state of Turiya can also be reached through person, through the surrender of the person in the essential channel into the primordial I am, as we were doing in the past. But here it is a lower realization, not entirely natural. Additionally, universal me is not realized. So the primordial I am becomes conscious through the person. The person is just a secondary center of me, the extension of me in the mind. And what I am wants is to be conscious through me, not through the person. Only through me. Because being conscious through me, and I am is conscious through me, the quality of its recognition of itself is much higher, much more sublime, much more profound. This is why. Feel your me, become one with your me. And go deeper. Surrender into me is not mere energetic, it is existential. And because of that, you need to meet yourself deeper. You need to feel, who am I? Who are you? Develop that intimacy with that knowledge of me in you. When you feel sad, when you feel lonely, surrender into me. When you cross that threshold to I am, you will no longer feel sad, you will no longer feel lonely. What you will feel is difficult to convey in words. So it is something for you to discover as you are discovering your own me through your evolution. Evolution of me and into me.